hear you.
Hey, sorry, I didn't saw the message earlier, so I kind of double text you. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody. Well, I was like, well, don't do it when we came back. And then Tanya set the message up, and then she set it for 2 p.m. rather than straight away. And then I was like, oh, I know you've got your thing at 3, so I didn't know if how much traveling you had to do to get to the to get to your meeting thing. Oh, I got you. He's gone quiet.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard you for a second. I said, "Can you hear me?" I heard, "Can you hear me?" And then I didn't hear you anymore after that. Yeah. So I think. Let me just pull up your questions as well. I'm just open the bits on Tanya. So, oh, it's probably not on that, is it? Let me just here. Right. Okay. Great. So. So basically, what I wanted to I wanted to do slightly more, but I basically only got like an hour and a half, an hour this morning. So I was like, let's try and get you to a graph, so you've at least got some data to look. The process generally of getting from this disease through to the quality via the
Mm-hmm.
symptoms, so that you at least have kind of a capture and can see what that looks like in terms of a graph and how that fits into generating the graph in our markdown from the code that you've done in the R code that actually runs and generates it with the symptoms. What I will say is everything that's in that data.r pretty much ChatGPT made for me just by telling it what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, for a process, ChatGPT to say, I want to do this with this data, give it an example of the data, give it what you want to do with it, and it can give you plenty of explanations of how to do it to actually drop in. So I think you should, although you're kind of very early on in kind of learning to use it, ChatGPT is a phenomenal tool as an assistant to help you go through anything you actually need to generate. And that's one of the other things I wanted to focus on with this, was just to get you so that you actually have this nice histogram with the two of effectively what you put into those. That's pretty much everything in there that you put into the Excel data that you made. So I don't know if you got time to look at the data. Did you get time to look at the data.r source code?
I think it's like I look at the Excel file on the sharing document, because I noticed there's like an extra document, like extra page for my original data set, but I'm not quite sure how the number was getting from,
Right.
because yeah.
Yeah. So let me come back to Zoom and let me just quickly take you through it. Share this one. Share. So we should have. So I just put the histogram on here. So the main thing that makes that picture is this little block at the bottom of the code.
Mm-hmm.
This is loading this data.r code. So this is the R code. So if you are you on Mac or Windows?
Mac.
Mac, yes. So if you command click on this data.r, it will open the R code. So this is the R code that creates this sample symptoms function. So what I also put some comments on here in terms of like the basic flow. So the first thing it's doing is, and you kind of already wrote some of these, I think, in the in something I was reading of yours. I think I'm sure it was as we posted some like different bits, but basically so first of all, R has what's called a data frame. It also has data tables. They are very similar, but data tables are faster. So that's what this DT is. So let me just set on this. So let me just run these. Let me just clear this because this has got. Switch to an English keyboard. goes first. Select that.
Because I think I'm just wondering, is there's like a specific data they extract from the Excel file? Because I kind of collecting as much as possible, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
like what exactly.
So what I
do they
did
use.
what I did on this, just go to working. I made a new folder called data, and I put your Excel files in it.
Yeah.
And then on those Excel files, so for example, this hearing loss utility, which is this one. File. Bring that over to the right screen. I just made this table of that. So this is one more. No, so this basically, for this one, I just cut for these. So effectively defined the symptom, the severity, the disutility that's associated with it. What I would suggest we probably do, though, is right for the moment just using disutility. But what I suggest is we use this HU3 domain, HU3 value, rather than disutility.
But I think they didn't. They only offer the utility value in most of the document. They only say like they conduct the mapping towards it, and then so they kind of unit all the data with like utility in all those documents.
Yeah, but probably the reason I say that is because we should be able to go from this utility through to what that looks like in terms of this domain, what HU3 value you would need to get this utility. So we should within that. Why? Because that HU3, the answers, and what I mean by that is, let me. It's this HU3 quality calculation. This guy.
Because that's basically only like very little of like what I collect, what they use towards it. So I'm not sure.
This is what right. So where this is on here. So where this is. I think we have it on utility data. So this one on here is basically these values that you have connected on, because they're the absolute utilities. The problem with the thing with these ones are their utility gains. So this is what we're talking about if you have a cochlear implant. But I say for them, and for things like that, we can put those in. We can potentially put those in, but I think the starting point for this at the moment is, and let me open. I'll show you this one, and if I here open the preference one as well. So what I did for the prevalence was, given an ICD-10 code, just give the name of what that ICD-10 code makes. This isn't used anywhere. It's just so you know what the codes mean. What the symptom is that you're making an estimate for the severity of it, and then the absolute prevalence. So within this, for example, all these sum up to be 100%.
Because that's the question. I don't know where this number coming from, because I looking back to check.
Right. So this is so this 25% is because you put on this guy that this has 40%. So this is 40% have the. Hang on, let me just. Make sure I've got as this one down here, isn't it? So that 25% is my understanding of this column is how many people have the hearing loss
within the stroke.
Within this ICD, this is the 60. This is a 60 to 62.
I think that number was just basically from like the paper. They say like how many people have stroke, and I just like divided with the number. So my understanding of that column is that was the prevalence of hearing loss in stroke. If it's not, then that's really kind of what you're looking for. And then these are when you have hearing loss, what the distribution of
the different levels of hearing loss are. So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
did was the total prevalence is 25% of them. In this one, assuming this is right, maybe this is the wrong number. I say this is very much just about my understanding and getting the numbers in. This
Uh-huh.
is 25% of people don't have anything, and then these are of 75 of the 75%.
Yes, yes, yes. That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So on that calculation, what I do on that symptom prevalence is this, for example, is that 75% times the that percentage. So that
I think I
makes
already
that
times it. That's the percentage. I already times it. Like I already calculated for you, so you can just use it directly.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So these no, that can't be because they sum to be 100.
You mean like
These four sum to be 100.
I think
But the minimum on this is mild hearing loss. So there's 25% have no hearing loss at all, so they don't have hearing loss as a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Which means of everybody who's had a stroke, this is 16.7% of the 75 that had hearing loss, not because these four add up to be 100%.
I think that's is like within the 75% of people that
Yeah.
have hearing loss, how much
Yeah.
of them was mild hearing loss? That's what
Yeah.
this column was for.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so this is 16% of them have the mild hearing loss. So if you look at what I do on the prevalence, that's only 12.5% of everybody. So these, because I've got a severity none.
Uh-huh.
So this gives us these of summing to be 100%, where we have our 25% of no
None,
hearing loss
yeah.
at all,
Uh-huh.
and then so like none, and that's, I guess these are probably in the wrong order. That should probably be that should probably be like the mild. I only had an hour just to get everything together, so I didn't manage to get a huge amount of time to go in and check and do everything. I was just trying to like get these into here. So so this gives us our prevalence. I was also but it was also on there, and probably you should look at some of the things. Was first of all, I did these as a duration in days. Is the way that most of National Health Model does stuff as duration in days. I was thinking of this as basically once you've got moderate hearing loss, you never recover from it.
Yeah.
But for other symptoms and for the things, you of course have the progressive diseases, so that gets worse, and you also have recovery. So we'll need some way within this to capture it. It's not just so for some things that'll be okay because you can do it as a percentage of the rest of your life, and it lasts for 3 months, for example, would be like 90-day duration. If that symptom lasted for 90 days, but some of the other symptoms will get progressively worse, some of the others, so there'll need to be a little bit more on this in the model. But to actually run and do that for the calculations for this, we can build on this rather. The idea behind this was to at least get us some models that we had some numbers that we could see exactly what they look like and how it all ties together.
I have one more question, because when you go back to the table where like the number was at, like I think the first one, like when you scroll on the very left. So like for I tried to define like their ICD-10, but most of them didn't really say it, so I kind of just Google it and just to give like the best guess I got have for the category.
Yeah, and absolutely. So this is one of the things I actually also did for you in this sample, because I know that's an issue. Where's me? Oh, this is one of the things I actually did for you in the sample. So what this actually does what this is actually doing, it's in here, isn't it? It does. No, I didn't show it. Sorry. Let me give you a. Just run this. So I have some. What you can actually do in this is do I61, I60. No, it is showing. Sorry, it is showing. The reason is, so this one here is this sample utility for an I61. That finds in this utility table the fact that the that it's in this range. So you can specify the ICD ranges as it's this range, we call it this and have these symptoms. So if we say, and that could be useful, for example, if we actually just say all stroke is these numbers, for example, then you can just do I60 to I64, and then it doesn't matter if it's hemorrhagic or ischemic, but maybe it does. And that's actually one of the reasons why I did it this way, was to look at the numbers from this to see how different they were and see how different the outcomes came to. So that is this guy, isn't it? Where you have so what you then have on this histogram is that when it does the samples, it makes, the code itself is making 10,000 samples taken from the disutility using the confidence intervals that you found for the range of utilities. You did these like nice. The Excel you had as absolute, I just changed them to be like 1 minus.
To 1 minus. Oh yeah.
So they were disutilities. ChatGPT actually caught that for me. I didn't notice.
Isn't it like show it on like, I think I do the disutility as well.
Let's see. Excel one.
Yeah, I think I do a column for disutility as well.
Didn't see one. We did 95 up and down. I think it's just the absolute. I think it's got the 95. It's got the final utility, and then it's got the 95. The CIs are for the final, whereas what we want to do from this is disutilities. So these minus. So I changed these to be 1 minus those values, so that they were 95% of the disutility, not the final utility.
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Because this is 652 to 701 with an average of 677, which is obviously much higher than this, but that's because this is 1 minus that. So I just for the table of those utility values, I just format, and it's in there as a formula, so you can see that as well. So what that R code does is it takes those 95% confidence intervals, whereas maybe it's here. It takes those 95% confidence intervals, data R, and it takes a sample from them. So this is what this one does. This here. So if I just make this, for example, if I make this ICD-10, set that to be, I don't know, I62, for example, and put quotes around it. So this. If I run this with this set, that sets rows to be any of these utility rows that match the ICD-10 that we're looking for. So we have these prevalences. That's what happens on that row. This one then takes that and finds this one then takes the I'm trying to ensure. This one takes a sample. Is it taking a sample? Yeah, this one's doing a probability. So it takes a probability from the preference and generates one row where that single row has the probabilities defined by defined by those prevalence values.
But so now we only use the prevalence, but we haven't considered I'm not sure if that's also can be used to discuss comorbidity, because I originally thought like maybe it will come out as more of not like a barcode, but like a linear graph about like.
Right. So what I was saying. So this is why I was saying I think this HU3 value is a good one to take, because if you do it by HU3 has thought, hearing. Did it have? Yeah, HU3 has hearing as a level value. I need to come. here. I can move this over. So HU3 has hearing as these different levels.
Yeah.
Now, if you do all of you, so it has vision, it has hearing, it has speech, it has like this ambulation, it has the dexterity, emotion. Actually, a really good study. If you do the valuation of the symptoms rather than disutilities, but as these levels, then you can use the formula for HU3 to calculate the utility. Because there is this document has a given your HU3 answers to your different parts of the questions, what is the utility value for that? I think it's probably an Excel file somewhere. But you can basically go from answers to all of the answer from these levels. HUI3 as a mechanism takes you to a quali value given answers to the levels of these questions.
But so we can't just use the utility value to get like a quali.
Well, because this is we were talking about a bit about this before we go. So this is the problem. The problem is if you look at something for example, hearing loss itself also has an impact on emotion. So, and you have this whole quite really messy relationship between these different domains.
Yeah.
And that is where all the research goes into for things like EQ5D and Huey and SF6D and all of those kind of material, all of those things, is they put a lot of effort into, what is the difference between level 1 vision loss, level 1 hearing versus 2 vision, 1 hearing versus 2 hearing, 1 vision, because it's not a linear relationship between vision and hearing. Having one in either of them has a big impact, but actually 2 is about the same as 2 and 1 in the others. So it's not like you can just sum up and say, so there is a disutility associated with this, but for the estimate of quality of life, you also have to consider the interrelationships between what happens when you have hearing and speech loss. And that is what these guys put the effort into. So this is why I was saying I think HUI3 is the right one to use and quantify them for.
Yeah, but like,
so then, right, and you can, and within this, I would expect HUI3 hearing disutility. I would expect them to have something like this, where maybe they'll have it on. Don't know if they'll have it on. Do we have it? Yeah, matches. This is an example of the paper. There should be somewhere within some of those publications, as you vary this from 1 to 6, how does the disutility, how does the utility, with everything else the same, how does this change?
You mean like without just only focusing on the hearing loss changing, or
just focusing on the hearing loss changing, which is what those utilities in this are giving us. So this should give us, for example, like none is easily. Why is it not?
Because when I read the paper, I'm pretty sure they only do the data set for the utility, but they didn't really mention the original value towards the HUI3.
No, absolutely they won't. But this is what I was saying for these as they come. If you do your symptoms, if you define your symptoms as the HUI3 domains.
Yeah.
So these guys. So rather than do them as symptoms, do them as these HUI3: vision, hearing, speech, ambulation, dexterity, emotion, cognition. And pain. The pain is the one that we've got for all of the things on those as well. So if you limit your symptom types to that, and then the severity of that happens from the develop for this, for each of those symptoms, and actually, you know, realistically, then this utility table. Let me just. Whose is this? Oh, this is yours, so I can close this. No, I probably want that opened. Give me a sec. Your utility values for this basically just become. Well, I suppose it is moderate. Right, we are talking kind of moderate, severe. So it is to put where on this, what actual score to give to these severities, but it should be limited to, you should just be able to limit it, not have a huge massive table for your utilities, to just say on this table what the values are, because maybe you call them differently. Do you see what I mean? Because that one is this for hearing here actually has like 6 levels.
Mm-hmm.
So this, but the one that you found for the estimate where it's calling is actually divided for in that disease into the 4.
Because I think
4 or 5. So sorry, 5, isn't it? Because we've got not. So this is like 1 is our not severe, none at all. But then to categorize what's profound, so 1 is not at all, 6 is 8 is profound deafness, and then the other one of these is going to have to be missing.
Mm-hmm. I think the question I'm a little confused right now is like, do you want me to find like how in the hearing part of this questionnaire will match with different severity, so we know like perhaps like profound hearing loss, it will match to.
So basically your utility table, this utility one. It's done again. Why does Mac do this to us? Always like I'm on this Excel file, I switch to this, it won't let me switch to it. I switch to that one. I then go, okay, I want to go back to my Excel file, and it open. Whatever, where's it gone? And then like switch back to the Excel I was on. It's supposed to be switching to Excel, but this isn't the file I was using. Drives me crazy.
It happens all the time. I was confused about that.
So basically, this table just becomes what you call a severity.
Yeah.
Is a what you call severity in your prevalence.
Yeah.
So you know where they're called when they have this one.
Yeah, so we can link those 2 files together, right?
Yeah. So they're being called in there. I've pulled. So these are the ones that are probably being pulled out from. I think I just copied and pasted those. So they're probably wrong because on mine. Because I think it's table 1 master. So you're here, isn't it? You're calling them mild, moderate, severe, and profound.
Yeah, I followed the one that was shown in NICE document because they already have categorized with like the moderate ones, severe and profound, and because every paper like kind of have defined the range differently, but I just followed the NICE.
Exactly. And for this, just pick one and just. So this was the other thing I put on that does need filling in is I put a column for source. So for that, for wherever those numbers come from, that should be and you can do source and comment where the number came from.
Do you want the comment be like the country or like the age? Because I thought about like maybe we're gonna run since it was
just from a comment. So the thing is, when you do these tables, do the sources from the beginning, because otherwise. For example, and I think it's okay on this because this one actually itself isn't so bad because you have this, you have them on this table for this 75% has come from there. So its source is this publication. But if, for example, you mix them, so they come from different places and it's not immediately obvious that it's come from, and actually, no, it's not immediately obvious that it's come from this row. So like the source on this one, for example, can be this index.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So it's where to find that. If you're copying them or they're pulling from a table, just to put what the actual like reference.
So like at the first page you can trace back which
So
the
from this,
detail. Okay.
so from this, and that also is really useful for when you do, because you can read this into your this table into your R Markdown, and have that actually in your document. And when you do that, having the source for it is the easiest way of doing it.
So my question
You
was
can see
like,
the publication,
in
what the
order to do like further analysis besides the prevalence, because the prevalence I think you can only see like how much of the people that have similar situations in the national health model, like the data set we have, but I'm not sure how it will be useful towards data analysis, towards like, because what I'm expecting perhaps is to generate like in predictions through
Yeah.
the data set in the national health model, and with the current I collecting one I can make a comparison towards it, but I'm not sure how exactly.
Right.
Is
So
there
what I
anything
would
else
say
you
with this
need?
at the moment is,
Mhm.
I would actually, and I think from the conversation from this, so we had a conversation with a clinician this morning. We were talking about this, who is a specialist in stroke.
Uh-huh.
He had no idea and had never really thought of hearing loss in stroke patients.
Mm.
Now, that's a big deal when 75% of stroke patients are ending up with hearing loss.
Uh-huh. But there's only like one paper saying that, so.
Well, there's more than one paper saying that, because this one's 40, so maybe it is 40, maybe it's somewhere between 40 and 70. This is a lot of what Yushu's doing around the uncertainty. The uncertainty on this can be, it's somewhere between 40 and 75. It's a big range. We don't really know, but this is still 40, and this is still a lot. A lot of people in the moderate and severe. No, you're basically talking
like the one
40%.
sorry to interrupt, like I just gonna comment real quick, like for the first one, because I was trying to find different stroke with like their prevalence into like different severity, but like there's not much paper talking about this. This is actually the most recent one, but this one was like more self-diagnosed, like they only diagnosed themselves.
Oh,
like
I looked at the numbers, but we were talking. The thing is, we were talking. This is one that part of that, and this is also with the mental health.
Uh-huh.
Part of that is they never measure it.
Uh-huh. Like
So
this,
none of the tools for stroke are measuring hearing loss.
I think for the first one that's self-diagnosed, but the one I put at the bottoms, like the last two one, is the one I found that really have like stated it, like with
Yeah.
like they actually
Sure.
measure the hearing loss.
I'm sure this hearing loss is a big deal, and what you found in this already is specialist stroke doctors have no idea, and for them it's not something they consider or care about.
Uh-huh.
Because there's nothing they need to. They're a specialist neurologist that's dealing with stroke. His main job is to stop the stroke getting worse and stop and prevent the symptoms, and do the best he can for the stopping the hemorrhage or the blockage.
Mm-hmm.
And they care about quality of life, but their measure has no mention of hearing loss.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also elderly patients who have hearing loss already.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it's never really something that they pay any attention to, that their patients are having hearing loss. So what this whole process for this in terms of awareness, it was quite a difficult conversation, I would say, because he's doing stuff on quality of life, but probably hasn't put as much effort into the quality of life yet as you've been doing in terms of understanding what on earth's actually going on here. So I think this kind of like symptoms thing for defining the disease is a massive leap forward generally. I really, really like the way that this is going. Mm-hmm. So, but to reiterate, what I would suggest you focus on, like in the very short term,
Mm-hmm.
is just stroke symptoms.
Stroke symptoms. So because that's what I thought, like maybe I should collect just stroke, focusing on the stroke one, since I think that might be the most data you guys have in the national health model. Or
well, there's a mix. So the thing is, I would actually say after that to go to the we have quite a large range of non-fatal events. So these ICD-10 codes of when they're non-fatal, and there's more kind of developing as we develop the models for them. So we have things like COPD, we have cardiovascular disease, we have all the obesity stuff, things like that. So there is a wide range on there. But what I would actually suggest, given the time frame and given what you're aiming for, is to start with stroke, because fill this in with stroke as much as you can, and that utility, fill in this stroke, fill in the Huey things, and then also probably do it for the cardiovascular diseases if there's time. So if depending on how long it takes you to fill in for stroke, because I think you did these two tables from this yesterday, basically, didn't you?
Yeah. Like the stroke one, I do it yesterday, but because I'm not quite sure like how accurate, like, do you
Right.
want the
So, and this is where your data analysis comes in, and this is why our markdown is fantastic. So and what I was also saying, we have all the tools for doing the sensitivity analysis for this. So what we then do, that you deal with the process for this generally, for how accurate they are, is and it's also the value. Right. So let me just stop that. So the sensitivity analysis is something for you to talk about on the thing, and this is basically what you do with the sensitivity analysis is you apply variation to these numbers. So you apply variation to these numbers, and you see how much that changes your outcomes. So that's the sensitivity analysis side of things. R has loads of great tools for doing that, where you can generate these. I'll give you an example of I'll give you a quick example for your thing, so when you're talking to your bit on the professor, you can see what they look like in a second. It is in finished images.
Sorry,
WSA Quali. Where's Quali? Quali, Dali, Gerala, Quali undiscounted. This guy.
Because I thought, like, if it's like the severity that we're aiming for, it would be a lot quicker for me to collecting maybe for mental health or for pain, because that's
I would really
drive.
so I would really focus on the stroke, do a great job, get that like full coverage. That you can then look at that from the cardiovascular disease, and from this comment, I think you will see that will also help you with your answering of this question, because obviously myocardial infarction has very similar. You will still get those crossover on things like pain, things like the mobility outcomes. So you can then do this very nice straight away to show that it works, and then the only thing that's left for us to do post your thesis is fill in that table, make sure the numbers. I say, for me, and particularly from the conversation today, and we were talking about this publication, I think the work that you're doing is going to be the foundation for the publication that we're doing, because it's so interesting, and it's so it actually solves so many problems that within this whole area we've had and just ignore because there's no solution to it.
But in terms of like my dissertations, like the whole like
so for
basically
your
the
dissertation,
storyline.
I would focus on for your dissertation, general aim, CVD and stroke. And and on top, I wouldn't worry too much about that, because we can definitely get other people to fill in that data for you for the CVD thing. So you can start at the moment concentrating purely on stroke and take that through to. So what I was just showing you on here this is what sensitivity analysis looks like. So in fact, we have this mean value, say like this is our 25% is kind of our base case, and then what you do is you increase and decrease that number and see how much that changes the number that you're looking at. So this one, for example, this is looking at COPD. So when you change, for example, it's very sensitive to the COPD model at the moment does them by what's called gold stage. So there's disutility for gold stage is effectively the severity of the disease. So the severity of lung function. So they have disutilities associated with the lung function. So this is basically saying that of our outcome on here, like gold 3, gold 2 dish utility is what has quite a big impact. But the biggest impact on it is actually on the age of the cohort. So when it develops has a big impact on the outcomes from those. And then also things like the prevalence. So you make the, and what you have is a table of what you use for the minimum value, what you use for the maximum value, and which is what the green, high and low is, and then you plot into this graph what the result is, which on this would be your utility. So instead of this is being like 25,000, it's going to be, you know, your kind of 0 and 1 range of your utility, but how much it increases and decreases it.
Okay, so I just
Right.
have like
So
idea.
and to just to finish, because we were just talking on the thing on that, we have for stroke similar to this. So an average stroke patient, an average severe stroke patient should have this much disutility.
Yeah.
So you can do that with your validation, because your average, when you do this sampling of your sample of the difference, your severe patients should have your patients that come up for severe should have a similar. It should be a very similar distribution with similar utilities overall when they come out. So you can do that as the check of, you know, we have these when you take the average of this patient group should be this.
But I didn't have like severity for the stroke level. I only have the severity for the hearing loss with the.
Yeah. But we have already in the model for stroke what those numbers are. So you don't need to put anything. We can just give you those. You don't need to do any research for them. They're just like a given number for what a stroke disutility is.
Yeah, but like so for like analysis, do we compare? I'm not quite sure what I'm comparing now already, like because.
Oh, right. So what I'm saying for that is your next step is not that one. This one. So to fill in for stroke, not just hearing loss prevalence, but the prevalence of vision loss. There's no vision loss, so they're all 0 on vision loss.
Oh, really?
But for mobility, for speech is a big one, for example, on stroke.
Because what I thought is like maybe I just focus on the stroke for now, and then
Yes.
I can collect data. Because when I was collecting hearing loss, I spent quite a lot of time like analyzing different scenario. If that's not the case, then I can collect just the severity mainly if that's what we're using for.
Exactly.
But so I don't have to. Sorry, can you go back to the other table that was for this? Because I just want to make sure I'm collecting exactly what we need so that it can be a lot faster than. So when you go to the one like summarizing the utility one, the utility data, yeah, because for here like within the nice document they kind of just explain like some of them will, not all of them explain, they mostly explain like with or without this technology how utility change, but some of them do summarize the severity like this. Analyzing here, I'm just wondering like if that's just what we need for severity, I can just collecting those, so like I don't have to spend that much time to look into the detail of like the
don't spend too much time on that at all. I think the way forward through that is the HUI index, where you match your symptom, where you match your severity to the HUI index, and then when you do it that way, all these numbers are available, have already been calculated for other people for you.
So we don't really need like different like, for example, 1 year hearing loss, 2 years hearing loss scenario. We just need the severity at all, just like overall.
For the moment, yeah. But I say that it is slightly more complicated than that, because it's not just the severity. You need for maybe stroke and because you don't need them for stroke and myocardial infarction. But for example, taking for example rheumatoid arthritis. So we have models where, I don't think that's in the DPAO data set themselves, but we have models for rheumatoid arthritis. COPD is a good one. COPD is a really good example. Let me just pull up them. I'll pull up them. We have that on our platform thing, so it's the easiest way to show you for that.
Um,
Can you see this?
yeah.
Right. So these are I was just showing you the things on these. These are these gold 1, gold 2, gold 3, gold 4 stages of disease. So that is how severe this is. That is absolutely. This is the severity of the disease.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is, for an individual patient, different patients move through these severities differently over time.
Uh-huh.
So that's what's happened. And the main reason for that is how their lung function declines. So different patients have different ways that their lung function declines. Some of them have very mild and stay very mild the entire time. Some of them stay very mild but like deteriorate very, very quickly and then die. So what's being shown from the study side of things. I think what I was actually, that's so Tanya, borrow you for this question. She probably doesn't need to worry about that, does she? All she needs is given a severity. What's the utility?
Yes. Yeah, please. Very cool.
So what I would say for this is, and you can talk about this in your discussion, and we can even give you some of the numbers for some. This is actually a nice technology report for the COPD anyway. So this is described. The side of this is described in the COPD technology report. So this describes how your symptom severity changes over time in COPD. So I think that kind of thing covers you. It's because that you have those. This is what I was saying in terms of you have progressive versus something like something. If you talk about the CVD, for example, the thing with vision loss is and vision loss and hearing loss is it tends to be progressive.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that. So I don't think that this doesn't apply for example, myocardial infarction and stroke. So you don't have to worry about that for myocardial infarction and stroke, because you have the myocardial infarction, you get those symptoms, and then you get a bit. Well, you get a bit better.
Uh-huh.
So what you have within those is like a recovery. So how you progress out of the stages over time.
Yeah, but I think the main concern I have right now is like I just want to know like what exactly I need to data for, because the scenario I'm not quite sure how like exactly the national health can estimate it for the different scenarios.
So the thing is, what you're looking to do with your quality of life model, and I have the example on here. I have of kind of where it comes from. This is our code gone. What's here? Effectively, what you get on what you have in the what you have in national health model, for example, is an age, sex, year, date that an I-64 event happens.
Uh-huh.
So effectively, and that's why I wrote within this thing. So effectively, what you get is, I have a date this I-64 has happened.
Uh-huh.
So what you're then wanting to do with the utility side of things is to turn that into a utility profile from I-64, but going through the symptoms. Why? Because you can have an I-64 and an I-21 at the same time. So, or for example, you have a myocardial infarction, I think is I-21 last year, and this year you now have an I-64. What is your utility using symptoms to estimate the utility rather than just I-64?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I really thought about like maybe I should quickly just maybe go through the pain and mental health one, because I think that's
absolutely.
the major drive towards the quality of life. But the question is, there's a lot of different mental health or pain type. I'm not sure like is there because I was seeing it
Find
more
a
as
number,
a
run with it.
symptoms. Yeah, more of a symptom, but not
Don't,
exactly.
as soon as you find a number that will do what you need it to do, take the source down, stick with it, run with that number. You do not need to find multiple sources for any of the numbers.
So I just find one numbers and just try to run it.
Just
So-
go with that. Put it within that number. Put it within that number. Put that source that's down on there. So just for your reference on there, this is where the sensitivity analysis thing comes in, because you then have after you've run with that and you've picked a number, you then have this like whole value of information approach, which is we've just taken this one number. Is it worth putting the effort in to make sure that this number is good? So
Yeah.
that's a whole other project that's well outside the scope of what you need to do. As soon as you find a number, you've got the source, this reference measured this, it said it was this value, good, go.
But for example, when the graph we just generated, I'm not sure exactly how can it like interpret it towards like comorbidity. It just shows the prevalence.
This isn't doing comorbidity. This is actually just showing the disutility of hearing loss of I-64 versus I-61.
Yeah, but
So
like
showing how that approach ends up with the disutility being distributed.
Okay, so for the comorbidity, I think that's the main result I will want to looking for. I'm not sure if there's any other data I need to collect towards that, or so far it was all right because we haven't.
Yeah, so exactly that kind of approach, but to focus on the mental health and the rest of it. Why? Because again, as you come to do this, what you will have is, for example, an I-21 patient 2 years ago has now had a stroke, and what is their utility? And the idea is to estimate that by estimating what symptoms they still have left over from the myocardial infarction.
Okay, so okay.
So to just repeat from this, so if we take, for example, hearing loss is not in I-21, but I'll give you an example. Let me pull this up from where has we're going to make you late for your meeting. You got your 3 o'clock instead, are you? That you're with him, with your supervisor.
Because I thought maybe in order to consider like the scenario for comorbidity, we just stick to stroke and then we add different symptoms for the hearing loss, mental health, and pain.
No. So it's the comorbidities. So it's the relationship. So let me. Where is this publication thing gone that we had for the Huey? Gober, BCR, Young. Did I close it? Maybe we've got one. No, this is on. So it's going to be Chrome. No. It was already open. But it's not already open. Why is it not opening? Oh, come on, computer. Open some desktop. Right, if we take pain for no, pain's probably not. Self-care is a good one. So self-care, you have a self-care impact from myocardial infarction and from stroke. So if you have had, and the thing is, if you have had a myocardial infarction that's pushed you into requiring mechanical equipment to eat, bathe, dress, and use the toilet independently, having a stroke is not going to make that any worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're already in the worst state of that symptom that you can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are actually, if you are already at a 2, it could move you to a 3. If you're already at like this level 2, so you can eat, bathe from the myocardial infarction, having the stroke could push you into the 3 or 4. Could make you, there's actually 4 levels on that, isn't there? So it could push you down onto the level. So what I was saying when we were talking about these symptoms is effectively what you do is you have kind of what their current symptoms level are before the event, and then after the event their symptoms are either after the event are no better than what they were before, but they could be worse if for the percentage of people that have worse outcomes than they already had. So that will then let you tie in, they've had previous myocardial infarction patients, things like diabetes that doesn't have that much symptoms. But if you concentrate on stroke for the moment, that will let you kind of see kind of how this ties together. And again, bearing in mind, one of the things we need to address is recovery, because your symptoms do not stay the same for the entire time that you've had a stroke. So we need to probably be able to capture how you recover as well as what those outcomes are. So I do that properly within stroke. I don't expect that to take you much more than, you should have most of that covered by the beginning of next week.
Which part?
Or everything we've kind of like talked about today. I don't see it taking much longer than that in terms of focusing on the stroke and the rest of it. If you have all of that kind of like pulled into at the beginning of next week, then we can start moving on to answering questions like that duration, starting running you through, because what I actually put in the R, and this is also important for your meeting thing, I didn't get time this morning to put it in, but it is quite important that this data R, where I did the kind of like the beginning, take disease, illness, event, ICD-10 code. The thing is, we have I-64 patients in there. A proportion of those patients a good proportion of those patients will have also had an I-21 before their I-64.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to worry about how many people are having the different disease, but what we do want to do is say, okay, we have we have people who have just had I-64 and nothing else, but we also have some of those, a proportion of those I-64 patients also have within the model earlier disease history that we need to consider when we're estimating what their quality of life is post-stroke.
Because I thought like the symptoms would be like hearing loss or mental health or like vision loss. So I collect the severity out of that, and then we can just run it. But I'm not sure like the durations and how recovery that, because
like I say, don't worry. We can deal with that. Don't worry about that until you've got that part done, because it's all just going to be changing levels of disease severity. So we have various different things for that, and you can also look at that in terms of like some of the, so there's various different, that's one of the reasons why I did duration, for example. So what you find with what you will find, and you'll see this with the technology assessments of how they've done them. So for example, I'll give you a quick one on those. For myocardial infarction, and actually for stroke actually as well, what they do for the way they currently define quality of life in a stroke patient is the quality of life in the first year of stroke, followed by the quality of life in subsequent years by severity. So they have like a high impact in the first year, and then however those symptoms that you recover from only last a year, and then you go into the other outcome. But we can deal with that when you have this kind of like other general data set with stroke. And I'd do stroke and I-21 as well. I think it's I-21. Let me just triple check what that is.
Sorry, I might need to go to the other meeting, but
yeah.
So
Hopefully that's enough in acute myocardial infarction. Yeah, I-21.
because like I'm not sure for the I'm still a little concerned about like comorbidity part. Do I have to collecting for another disease towards like plus
I'd say
disease?
so I-21 acute myocardial infarction. So that's like we've just done for stroke prevalence. So like we've just done for this for hearing loss, but do these for those HUI, but for only on the HUI3 symptoms. So you don't need to consider the other ones that aren't HUI3. You can put them down if you find ones that aren't potentially covered. You can put them, but only on HUI3, and do HUI3 domains for I-64 and I-21. And I-21 is acute myocardial infarction.
Okay. I think I will write down more to confirm the step later on after my meeting with my supervisor, and I just want to make sure like everything was clear so that I don't waste time like finding the data that was not gonna be used, so that we can run this more like effectively.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I will say is all of the data that you have found so far wants to go in your thesis, because it's the process. It's getting to this process of finding this is the way of doing it and considering it and find it. You already have, in terms of these really nice. You can see the difference is from two different papers of how uncertain they are. That kind of thing you can discuss. Maybe you only go with one number for the model for the running and consider it from the other outcomes. But that everything you found so far contributes to your understanding of seeing, of making sure you've not missed anything, of being able to have the discussion and looking at it. At the end of the day, per patient, what you end up with is one number between 0 and 1. Looks incredibly simple, and it's really nice and easy to understand, but this whole process of this within the quality of life is understanding why that 0 to 1 number isn't actually that simple at all.
Okay, thank you so much. I will just go to the other meeting.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers. Good luck. Have fun.
Okay, bye.
Bye.